Spoiler alert, we're unpacking the whole plot, twist by twist. If you're spoiler sensitive, hit pause and come back when your TBR list catches up. Cheers!
Welcome to the podcast where our reading habits are unhinged.
And so are we.
I'm Gabby.
I'm Miranda.
And this is Marginally Unwell.
I just feel like it's empty right there.
Yeah. Like, we need somebody musical.
I got ding, 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 ding. I'm pretty sure that would be copyrighted too.
Anyway, moving on without the music today. It's time for another TBR jar pick. And this week, fate chose The Wedding People. I don't know why I said that so ominously. By Allison S. I'm not sure how you say her last name, so sorry if I just butchered that. What starts as a quiet stay at a fancy hotel quickly turns into something much bigger when one woman finds herself surrounded by a wedding she was never meant to attend. Today we're unpacking the humor, heartbreak, and unexpected connections in this unique story. It was really a different one.
Yeah, it was definitely not what I was expecting.
Same.
Yeah.
Like the very beginning of this, I was like, whoa, what? I was like, that was something I wasn't prepared for. But I will say, I mean, I know I just said it was unique, but it really was.
Yeah.
You know, we read so much that we're constantly comparing it to other stuff, and I can't be like
that I could compare it to.
Yeah. So
that I've read.
Yeah. So I liked it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's hop into some questions. What were your first impressions of Phoebe at the beginning of the novel, and did those impressions change by the end?
Yes, they changed. I feel like this whole book, it was like a story of self-discovery for Phoebe. So I do think she changed a lot from the beginning to the end. The beginning, I was still getting to know her, so I didn't really formulate that much of an opinion of her. But definitely she was in a dark place. Where we entered into the story. She found out her husband was having an affair and that he wanted a divorce, and he didn't want to reconcile anything, and she just was kind of left. I don't know. I also kind of had the feeling that she was like kind of just talking about or reflecting on her relationship with her husband, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the stuff that she did in the relationship was for him.
Yeah.
And I think she lost her identity in that, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever, I can kind of narrow that part at least to the Emily Henry book, Funny Story. It's with her. I guess it's a common theme in poor relationships.
I mean, she was very consumed
by
him and the relationship, and they were trying for a family and had struggles with that, and so she got very consumed by that. And lost her way a little bit. So yeah, it was definitely not what I was thinking going into this book. Obviously, my impressions of her changed because she changed so much over the book. I mean, we started with her getting ready to end everything, and it ended up very different. Yeah, she was an interesting character to get to know, and as we kind of got pieces of her past and learn more of how we got here, basically. It was a journey.
Yeah, I also think with her already making the decision to end it, she let herself go. But let herself give into those on a whim thoughts. She was more brazen. She was more.
I really liked that.
Yeah, bold.
Because she was just literally. She's gonna not be here anymore, so it doesn't matter. And so she just said whatever she wanted to say.
She said the thing.
I was like, sometimes I really wish I was more. And I say the thing a lot, but
you say the thing a lot.
I'm
imagine you could say it 100%. Imagine.
I could not. Yeah,
you'd be in love with one friend.
Okay, so I was gonna say that. Miranda told me I need to stop bringing it up.
0 acquaintances. So many. Okay. What was that? Phoebe and her brazenness. her boldness. I did like that about her. I do like that she took ownership of like her, I don't even know, her actions, her thoughts, her what she says. So I also find it I know we're gonna get into it as well, but it also I like that she was the only one to say the thing to the bride.
Yeah, which that's like a whole other level of saying the thing.
Yeah.
Like you don't really tell the bride anything on her wedding day or wedding week. Whatever.
Yeah, this was her like a whole week. That was crazy. That's a lot.
It was, but also I don't really think it was because it was like a destination wedding, and so they were there having to like get ready for stuff too.
Yeah, I mean that was a destination wedding. Yeah,
But yeah,
anyway, on to the next. The story begins with Phoebe arriving at the hotel during a wedding weekend. How did this setting shape the tone of the book?
honestly, it created a lot of juxtaposition in the book because you
Going
had
into
this
the
one
beginning.
main character who's basically the worst time of her life,
Mhm.
literally so bad she doesn't want to be here anymore, to, a wedding, and one of the other main characters being like the bride in this wedding, and she's having her supposed to be like the happiest time of her life. It's very, and I think it was like a good mix for both of them because it gave them both what they needed.
Mhm.
Like Phoebe got to be around other people and like realize like, hey, that bad stuff happened, but like that's not everything.
Mhm.
And like other people have had bad stuff happen, but they have family and friends and people who love them and all the things. And then at the same token, Lila also learned from her because she was learned from Phoebe because Phoebe was at such a state of just saying whatever she wanted that I think Lila really needed some of that. She was very much like maybe not a people pleaser, but like she was trying to do what everybody like expected of her and like honor her dad's memory and things like that. And so she was very wrapped up in like what everybody else would think or want versus thinking about what she wanted.
Right.
And so where they were both in life is what the other needed.
Yes. I think it's also, just to add on to that too, I think it's also easier to hear it from somebody that's outside of your group. Like it's easier to take in reflection from like a therapist than it is like a close personal person,
True.
Like
you don't have as much feeling in it because they're not going to have any bias towards like how they feel about you or how they feel about others in a situation.
Exactly, because they're not in it.
Yeah.
I agree. I really liked how their friendship came to pass. I also found it really funny that Phoebe was so calm going into it, and like even though she was towards her end, supposedly, Lila was going in like you were saying, biggest, happiest time of her life, but she was just stressed. She was like, this is not fun. She was like stressed about the palate cleansers and the
Oh my gosh, palate cleansers. That was crazy.
Anyway, it was so funny because she was so peaceful and she wanted to have a good time. The Phoebe, the main one, and she's like, "Oh, this didn't work out, so well, I'll just do something else." And then, but with Lila, she's like, she's supposed to have a really good time, and she was just so hung up on such little tiny details. Yeah, so I thought it was funny.
Why do you think Phoebe and Lila were drawn to each other despite having very different personalities and circumstances?
I think they were just so brazen with each other. Like they weren't worried about like hurting the other person's feelings. Yeah, I think that had a big play into it because, yeah, I don't know. She's like, you can't do that on my wedding weekend. You can't. They're gonna drag you out in a cart in the middle of everybody, and they're just gonna be thinking about that instead of my wedding. And she's like, well, excuse me, I can do what I want. I thought they're in the elevator too, so yeah, they're like stuck.
Yeah, I kind of already basically said this during the last question, but I think it drew them to each other because they both had something the other needed.
Yeah,
like they were very different circumstances, but they both needed like the perspective of the other, and because, like you said, they didn't know each other it was, I don't want to say easy, but easier to just be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, that's
Like
dumb.
almost like if I say
logical
it and I
versus
offend this
emotional.
person, it doesn't necessarily matter because I don't really know them.
Yeah.
And then that's what made them close.
Yeah. It's funny.
Yeah. It's like logically the opposite.
Yeah.
How did the mix of humor and heavier emotional themes affect your reading experience? Did it work for you?
For me, yeah. But I mix humor and tragedy in daily life, so that's pretty
On par.
normal for me. I like it because that's how I choose to cope with things. Joke. I will say throughout this book there were several times that I like laughed out loud.
Yeah.
It was so funny. And obviously there was a lot of really, really heavy stuff with Phoebe trying to end things, with their fertility issues. We had Lila's dad who died of cancer. Like, there was a lot of really heavy stuff, and it was kind of crazy because I didn't, like, you felt the weight of it from obviously what they're going through, but it didn't just, like, weigh down the whole book. It wasn't just, like, a super sad book, and I think a lot of that was the humor. And it was brought in a really good, natural way. Okay, maybe not natural, but a way that somebody...
Tasteful.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. Somebody who deals with things that way, I would say that's natural. That's maybe not natural for everybody. But tasteful, I think, is a much better way to describe that.
Yeah, it was well placed. Great.
Yeah.
It also worked for me as well. We both have the same sense of humor.
Yeah.
Overall, we
Half
talk
of our
about
conversations are like, I would never say this.
tell you because you get it. What was I gonna say? Dang it.
Sorry.
So they talk about like these really like heavy-hearted things with each other, and they do actually hear and listen to what the other has to say. So they are like having a conversation about these darker, more intense subjects, but so they still get to work out those things. But then at the end, like they kind of crack jokes on each other. Like, for example, whenever Phoebe was relaxing in her room and the bride just like walks in and she's like,
But she was in the bathroom.
yeah, she's like, we can't just walk into somebody's room whenever you want. And she's like, well, I knocked. And she said something along the lines of, someone knocks, that means don't open the door. Like, they're not.
If you knocked and nobody answered, that doesn't just mean.
And she's like, how am I supposed to know? You're supposed to die.
Yeah, you could have
She's
just
like,
been in
well,
here dead.
you're not wrong.
But then it's crazy because she needed something, and so she like
It
called.
was floss or something.
Yeah, it was something real dumb, and so she got it like delivered by the like.
She's like in the bath.
As she's like fully bathing.
She's like, I'm in the bath. She's like, oh, I don't care. So it's just funny and just so lighthearted. She's like, how am I supposed to know if you're dead or not? I'm like here to check on you, and I needed this, so it doesn't matter regardless. So I like that.
Same. Did your opinion of Lila change throughout the book as you learned more about her?
I don't know, because I feel like Lila pretty much, I don't want to say stayed a lot of the same, but I think Lila learned a lot about herself during this. Like, I think even before the wedding, Gary, her fiance, and the brother, Gary's brother Jim, like they were all like talking about how she was before. Not about the entire book, but there are like little parts where they were talking about how Lila was before the wedding, and it seems pretty in line with how she is now. Just right now, it's enhanced because it's an event and it's her event, and it's a very special to her because, like you were saying, like it had a lot to do with her dad passing. Like, he was wanting to like use a lot of money for her happily ever after wedding.
Yeah.
And so she put a lot of pressure on herself for her father.
Yeah.
So I think at the time that we meet her, she's very heightened, but in her own personality.
Yeah.
So I liked that she found answers about herself throughout the book, but I don't think she changed throughout the book. I think it was still her, but she had a lot of introspective moments.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I feel like her personality didn't change. She's a little high strung. She's a little bit type A.
So relatable. But I think that but she did learn like that it was okay for her to want what she wants. Like she still was gonna be like that type A and not high strung about everything, but the difference is like during the book and during the wedding, she was doing it for like what everybody else wanted. Mm-hmm. So I think her overall personality was the same. It was just like her learning that like she actually didn't have to like go through the wedding with somebody who I don't want to say she didn't let because she did, but she was like it's not what it should have been, but because like that's who she was with when her dad passed, and then like her dad wanted the big wedding and everything. It was like this is what needs to happen.
It was almost like obligation.
But her outspokenness and like fieriness and her type A personality and like trying to control the situation, that all stayed the same. Which again I relate to. So honestly, it should be around me whenever it's my wedding. That's scary. I don't even want to be around me. Unfortunately, I can't escape my own head.
Unfortunately. How does the wedding environment highlight the pressures and expectations surrounding relationships and marriage? That's so funny. We just talked about that.
We really do begin ahead of ourselves.
It's almost like it's a natural flowing conversation.
I mean, that highlights any type of pressure. This is going to be super corny and cheesy to talk about this, but what is that movie called? Bride Wars?
Oh, yeah.
And the wedding planner in that talks about how, like, the pressures of planning a wedding basically does one of two things. Because, like, you're going to be under pressure. And it either is going to, like, pull you together to, like, handle it and, like, work through everything, or kind of tear you apart. Mm-hmm. And so I think that was represented a lot in this, of like who really like came together and who came apart. But
it's such that it also happens.
It's such a high stress thing.
It's a high stress thing, but I think it's also like, in addition to that, it's a high stress thing. But you're going through this high stress thing to where you become like one, like a unit.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you're almost planning your breakup or your union right at coming to your, not want to say finality of your.
Yeah. But it's a lot. It's a big buildup. You're spending a lot of money. You're putting in a lot of time to like plan all these tiny little details. And so it's no wonder she like has it all down over the over the palate cleanser.
The palate.
So I mean, I feel like that really was representative of like what real life wedding planning is like. Maybe not the situations like they were in personally. It just added to that pressure even more, and because they weren't really doing it for the right. And so I feel like that puts even more pressure on it, because if you are really happy and you're really like loving what you're doing, like in your, you know what I mean, talking about like the actual marriage, then I don't want to say it's not as stressful, but like it's gotta come easier, because you know, like you're so focused on that end goal that it's better. Where because she didn't really want to marry him.
Also,
then it like makes it like she's looking for any reason like to validate what she's already feeling. And so like obviously this isn't right because we didn't get the palate cleansers.
Yeah. That's how
to do something was gonna ruin it. That's what she said with the car.
Yeah. Yes. I was gonna touch on that too. But it's almost like she was finding any excuse not to go through with it.
Yeah. Well, and finding every other thing to focus on besides the fact of like how she was actually feeling. So yeah. That was stressful. Which side character stood out to you the most during the wedding weekend?
Side character? I think like they're not talked about a lot, so I don't really know if they're like side characters. So I was gonna say like how Lila would go and just like vent everything to Phoebe about stuff, and I think it was Gary's parents or his aunts and uncles or something that were like, oh, this is such a really nice place, like commenting without commenting how expensive everything is, and how much it cost them to go out there in the first place. Like, she's like, all they had to do was travel here. Everything else is taken care of. Like, what are they even complaining about? They get a free
week of all of this stuff planned for them. And so I just thought that was, I was like, of course, they have to like comment on snidely about a planned weekend.
Leave it to families. It's crazy because I feel like so many people do these big elaborate weddings like to please their family, and then it like doesn't even matter because they're just gonna find something to complain about. Yeah, it's crazy. But we do be doing it.
That was the most memorable, and it kind of came up throughout the whole week leading up to the wedding. Just like the comments made by the family. So, and she's stressing over like every little detail, and they're like, "It doesn't. Why is she stressed?" Like, they were also like commenting on how erratic she was being, and it's like, dude, you're not even enjoying like it being this way. No wonder she's trying to like make everything perfect so she doesn't have to hear your little remarks.
Yeah.
Well, part of it.
Yeah, I don't know. There was a lot of that with like a lot of the side characters. I feel like I liked Jem the most. He made me laugh a lot.
The
brother-in-law.
Yeah, I liked him. He seemed like a boys will be boys. You know?
Yeah. But then he like also was really like sweet at moments, and so I really liked him a lot. Yeah.
Do you think Gary and Lila were a good match? Why or why not? I don't know. I think they were a good match. He was very, very patient with her. I don't think he knew how to handle her the way she needed to be handled, but I think he handled her very well the way that he was able to. And I think he was very, very patient with her and was just like, it's okay, blah, blah, blah.
He was really patient. I don't know. She had no idea who she was. And so
I think her mom even said that. Lila's mom, at one point, she was
talking about like her relationships and stuff.
Yeah,
and she's never taken it as far though.
Yeah, and she's gonna. I'm pretty sure she said she did. How is she gonna get married if she doesn't even know herself? So it's funny.
So I feel like that's why they weren't a good match, and I don't think romantically they were a good match. I don't want to say she lacked maturity, but a little bit, and I think that stems from like not being sure of yourself. But Phoebe and Gary had both already been in a marriage. They were also both sure of themselves. You know what I mean? And
they're also really established. Like he's a doctor.
That's what I'm saying. And she was a professor. Yeah. And like I said, they had both been married. He had a kid already. She had already been like trying to go through all of that as well. And Lila was a lot younger.
Yeah.
And she had just gone through that traumatic experience as well. And then like not having your identity. And then it was so easy to like grasp onto this one thing that her dad wanted as like her whole identity, because
I also was thinking like she was trying to grasp onto something that's stable because she was so unstable.
Yeah. And which is crazy because he wasn't really stable either, because he also lost his wife.
Yes.
So like there was a lot of trauma in this book for as light as it was. But yeah, so I don't feel like they were a good match. It's not that I feel like they were like completely opposites or anything. And like you said, he was really patient. She was nice to him. Like it wasn't that. And I think that like they did care for each other, but I don't think they were in the right seasons of life for each other, for sure, at minimum.
I agree.
And I just feel like they were very different people.
Oh, yes. 100%. Yes. You know, while I was reading this, it really made me think about Friends. I don't know if you drew this connection or if it was just like my mind wandering, but it made me think of like Gary as Ross, and then Lila as Rachel, and then Jim as Joey. Because not that Ross is stable, but he's been through a few relationships. He has a child. It has like a career, and then Rachel is still kind of like exploring her career because she started late. I don't want to say like started late, but she was like forced into like being independent. Yeah. Anyway, and then, so she's still trying to like find her footing, but of course she still really likes Ross. But then I think you mentioned this at some point that you think that Joey and Rachel would have been a good match because of them being that way. And I think that kind of mirrors between Gary, Jim, and Lila, and then Ross, Rachel, and Joey.
Yeah, I can see that. Because, Jim was a lot more carefree and, like, I don't know, a lot more similar to, like,
I think he
Joey.
saw her a lot more. Because, like, like, with Jim, with the palate cleansers, he's like, what's going on with the palate cleansers? Like, let them go. She's like, I thought I paid for them, and they made a call, da 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 da. It's like, it doesn't even matter. And then, like, I think it was the next morning, he, like,
so Gary said that.
Gary said that.
Yeah, and then the next morning, Jim stole them from the kitchen.
Yeah, and he's like, these are great. He's like, it doesn't even matter. If you care about it, like, it matters.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. The story takes place over a short period of time. Did the condensed timeline make the events feel more intense or rushed?
I think that I don't think it felt rushed. I did feel, because it was going through a wedding, and a lot of things happen in a wedding, and you already have an itinerary, so it flowed well with the book.
Yeah,
like the events flowed well with the timeline because of the event going.
I also think that even though what's happening like right now in the book is very condensed, it's like 6 days or whatever. There's a lot of like back and forth because it's talking about like what they had just gone through. So obviously we learned about Phoebe's marriage, like them first getting married, then trying to have a family, then the affair, all this stuff. And we also learned about Lila's dad and like that whole thing. And then we've learned about Gary and his late wife and his daughter and all this stuff. So we learned a lot about the past. So even though like the main plot of the story was only 6 days, we still had a much wider view of things. And I feel like this was the moment where it's all coming to a head, basically. And so I don't feel like it was rushed. It was just like, here's how we got here, and now like this is the big moment where all the change is going to happen.
Yeah, and a lot of it felt like it was reflection too, because of all these like major things leading up to the wedding.
Yeah,
like they have a lot of time for, I won't say a lot of time, but a lot of these events spark reflection in the previous timelines.
Yeah,
so it flows seamlessly.
Yeah, because something happens and then they're like thinking about some scenario, and then they're like, how I would have reacted then, or like that makes me second guess what I'm doing now, kind of thing.
Yeah, it wasn't like a traditional then and now. It was more of like a
that's true,
natural.
Yep, I agree.
What moment in the story felt like a turning point for you?
I want to say the hot tub scene, but I feel like that was still early on because I think that was still before she took the pills. But I think the big one was when she was on the boat and she helped bury the
Tamagotchi.
Yeah,
I
think that was the big thing.
Yeah, I was thinking the hot tub scene at first as well because that was her first like bold move.
Yeah,
but then it was also she was set in mind. She was like in fact,
she was still going forward.
Yeah,
I think that. Yeah,
and I think she saw a lot of herself in the daughter. What was her real name? I just remember. So they kept calling her Juice. Her virtual dog ended up dying. I don't know what happened to it. She forgot to feed it or something. But anyway, it died, and no one was like taking her seriously, and it like really hurt her. And I think she felt connected to that because I think she said that her cat had passed or something along, and that was something that she shared with her.
No, because her cat had just.
Oh, it's duh.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
But I think she was just like able to be more present in the moment with her and like see that she was like really hurting. I feel like Phoebe just really had a good grasp on empathy for other people, and I'm sure that like part of what she was going through, a lot of times we hear about people who are in a really dark place, oftentimes are the people that are always there for others. And she also knew that Juice had lost her mom, and Phoebe grew up without her mom as well. And so I think it was just her trying to like be there and take her feelings seriously. And then come to find out the like virtual dog thing was like a gift from her mom. And so, yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like that was the biggest turning point. That was the first time I think Phoebe really felt like connected to somebody else. And it kind of gave her some more perspective. How does the book explore loneliness and connection through Phoebe's interactions with the wedding guests?
So funny. Well, the first one that comes to mind, because we literally just talked about it, is the dog.
Yeah.
But I also think like she had a really good connection with the brother, Jim. Like whenever they're doing the writing of the speeches, I think because Jim also like not confessed, but told a story of how he met Lila first, and he was trying to get his brother Gary to get out the house because his wife had just passed, and that's how he ended up meeting Lila at the art gallery. So, and how he saw that they had a connection later whenever they were trying to get treatment for the father, and he kind of took a step back because he he really liked Lila, but he also like loved his brother more and wanted his brother to be happy. And so come to find out that he's the best man, but he's also like missing out, like he's like fawning.
Yeah.
Or longing, not fawning.
But he was like in love with her, and
Yeah.
like we kind of touched on earlier too. Like he really saw Lila in a different
lens. He seems like lonely in his family.
Yeah.
And he developed a connection with, not a connection with Phoebe, but he opened up to Phoebe about
He
that.
did. And I mean, it was like a friendship connection.
Yeah.
It wasn't like anything like that. But he, again, I think because she was a stranger, it was easy for him to like open up about it. But I feel like that's kind of how she ended up connecting with everyone. Was like people kind of just were telling her things because, of course, it's not going to affect her directly, or so they think at that point. But then it also, like, I think it also gave something back to Phoebe because then she could see, like, what they were going through and, like, be able to walk with them through that and kind of create that connection, which I think is what she was, like, missing so much in her life because it was wrapped up so much in her relationship that basically fell apart, and then she's feeling like she doesn't have any connection. She's just alone. Because even her job was wrapped up with him. They worked at the same university, like, and he was higher up and more full and like everything like that. And so literally everything in her life was like
The connection
had fallen apart. And so I think her being able to create all these other connections and them having a place that they felt safe because it was somebody that they knew
also
was really interesting.
With the business and connection to Phoebe. So it happened with him, it happened with the sister, and for like, what was it, after something?
Yeah, because she had
She had an affair with
the judge.
the judge.
And so her and her husband were trying to like reconcile after that. And so she also could see that from a different perspective as somebody who was like on the other side of things and that, but she never like judged her or anything like that.
Yeah. They had an honest conversation about it. She's like, well, why did you cheat on me?
Yeah.
And then she told her honestly, it's like, this is why it led up to whatever.
Yeah.
And then she also, the sister, can't remember her name right now, but the sister also asked, well, why didn't you want to get back with your husband? And she's like, he never asked to, so I never thought to even try. And she's like, dang.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I feel like all these people they had all been going through stuff and then like not dealing with it. And so now like this heightened situation, that's what's causing all this pressure to deal with it. And
just also constantly seeing it. Like they all have to constantly go to something together.
Yeah.
It's not like you can take a step out and like take a break.
Yeah.
Because the boat ride, the dinner, like this thing, going out to do this. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Did any moment in the book make you see a character in a completely different way than you had before?
Yeah, I think the moment with Jim whenever they're trying to write their speeches, and he kind of talks to her about everything. Because up until that point, he was like, yeah, goofy, kind of frat guy, flirted with everybody, all the things. But then, hearing about that, like, he had met Lila first and was basically trying to get Gary out of the house. And so he was like, kind of be my wingman, but he didn't tell him that. Then also, it's kind of crazy to think because he was Gary's brother-in-law. And so he was also mourning the loss of his sister.
Yeah.
And so, like, he lost his sister, and then, but he's like trying to help her husband, like, go through everything. And then he finds somebody, and then they have a connection, and he's like, okay. And so he just.
How do I navigate this?
Yes. And so he just, like, put things on the back burner for himself, too, to, like, try to help him out. And so he really had a big heart and just wanted to, like, be there for the people that he loved. And he really wanted to see them be themselves. And that's something he talked about a lot with both Lila and Gary. You know, she was, like, so vibrant and everything, and she should just be allowed to be herself. And then also, like, he wanted to see Gary as happy as he had been, like, fully himself, like he was with his sister.
I agree. He was the first one that came to mind because he had such a drastic change.
Yeah.
I really liked his character a lot.
Yeah.
And I think he really brought stability to Lila and also Gary. A lot to Gary without him even knowing.
Yeah.
So I thought that was nice. Another one that I had a challenge with this was her friend at the university, the one that her husband had the affair with, because she was the closest with her.
Yeah.
And she's like, what was it, like, prettier? She had more accolades, like, she wrote more, she was having trouble writing. Phoebe was having trouble writing. And I think she also, what happened, I can't remember what happened to her husband, the lady's husband, but
she also had a baby.
She had a baby. And so I think that was even more, I know we've talked about this before, but it's almost even more of a betrayal because she was her friend outside of her husband as well. And then she had a husband, she had a baby, she was prettier, she was more successful in the same career. And her husband also chose her. And she's like, well, it's because she's prettier. She has more published. She's able to have a baby. Yeah. So I think, and then whenever she ended up going back after, I think they talked about COVID a lot, but whenever she was going back and she had her office was now in the break room, and she was meeting students. Phoebe was meeting students in the break room, and then her ex-husband and her ex-friend would come in and get coffee while she's meeting with students. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, how mortifying. Like, that would be awful. And then her having those, I think the friend also had a side conversation with her and was like, I'm sorry, it just happened. We didn't mean to hurt you. I was like, just get out. So at first I was like, oh, she has a friend, like, outside of her husband and, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden it's like, worst case scenario.
Anyway, what role do chance encounters and unexpected conversations play into Phoebe's experience of the hotel? Literally all of them.
Yeah.
Well, at least with Lila and Gary, for sure.
What role do chance encounters and unexpected conversations play in Phoebe's experience at the hotel? I think Phoebe went there for a completely different reason, and she was saying that she wanted to check into a hotel, have a very expensive hotel.
Yeah.
And have a very expensive dinner and then just end it that night.
Yeah.
And then with all of the chaos of this wedding and everything that was happening, she kept getting, like, she was still committed to doing this thing.
She kept getting, like, derailed.
She kept getting derailed. She kept getting pushed back. She kept kind of also like, oh, well, the kitchen's closed, but the wedding is open, so maybe I can just go and steal some seafood from their buffet, and still have a meal. And then that I do think that all of these chance encounters really gave her a lot of, like you were saying earlier, perspective and almost like a purpose.
Yeah.
Throughout the week.
Yeah.
Especially with her becoming I thought it was crazy, like the maid of honor.
That was wild. I was like,
literally met her 2 days ago.
Yeah, but also at the same time, people were the most honest with her and like everything, and she knew that she would, be there and tell her how it really was. But yeah, I mean, obviously, she had the encounter. She met Lila in the elevator, and then
Lila was rude.
She was like, "I'm not here for the wedding." And Lila was like, "What are you talking about? Everybody's supposed to be here for the wedding. Nobody else is supposed to be here." Yeah, and then her just casually being like, "Well, I'm gonna unalive myself," like in an elevator ride. That's what she's like telling her, and obviously that prompted Lila to be more like, no. And then I'm like, we'll be doing that. And
everything.
And then whenever she went down to the hot tub, because again she's trying to have this like just super nice night or whatever, and she goes down to the hot tub, and then Gary's there, and they like kind of hit it off, and she's just really blunt with him, and so that was like another moment. Obviously, then she later finds out that he's the groom, and that was the whole thing.
She's like, "This is more divine."
Yeah. Cool. But I mean, it basically was the foundation of how their relationship started, and so it definitely played into her experience. Because had there not been like a wedding or whatever, she probably just would have done what she'd gone there to plan to do. So, yeah.
How did the wedding guests and staff contribute to the overall atmosphere of the story?
I think it fed into us like getting to see more about them, like with Phoebe trying to help the front desk girl. But that was just like very who she was. She was a teacher, and so I think her like trying to like help her through things was really.
I think the front desk girl was so sweet.
Yeah,
she was so eager. Yeah,
and she was just like, I thought this is what I was supposed to wear, and Phoebe's like, let's try this. And so I thought that was really interesting. But then you had people like the butler, and so that was like kind of feeding into like the extravagance that was Lila's wedding. And then you also had like the guests, like you were saying earlier, his family, and even like the few friends that she had there were very like judgmental and all this stuff. And it really fed into like Lila was trying so hard to like make it perfect and to like just have the most incredible experience for her guests and everything, and like it doesn't matter. And so why are you doing something for anybody else? Because they're going to complain no matter what. They're going to talk about you no matter what. So like it might as well be what you want.
Yeah.
And
that's insane. Like you saying that makes me think of the 5-Star Weekend, like how vastly different those friend groups are.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just crazy.
That is crazy.
But I mean, why didn't you bringing it out of people? I don't know what it is.
Stuff it down.
Yeah. Get it together. Did the book change the way you thought about second chances or starting over later?
Not necessarily second chances, because, I mean, second chances are there if both parties are willing to do it or not, So, like, for example, Phoebe's marriage versus Gary's sister's marriage, And
I was thinking, like, second chance at life.
Second chance at life. I was thinking that. And then starting over later in life, I was thinking, well, you're always, that's hard, because I guess it would be harder for her because everything is built around him. So that would be like literally finding a new job, another place. And she was saying like anywhere close to that area, they didn't have any openings, so she would have to move. Yeah. She's like, well, what does it matter if I have to move? Because I'm no longer in a relationship with him, so I can move wherever I want. All of my friends are his friends, and my only friend that I had ain't no more. So I think also, I guess it makes it like not as scary to make connections outside of that, because you made all these connections in a few days. Yeah. Versus like, I want to say not a lifetime, but a good maybe not open, because it's not like she was like looking for it, but because she wasn't like so closed off because she was so sure that she was like ending things, I think that allowed for like all that to come into her life. But she was also not trying to end things while she was in a relationship with her husband at the university.
Right.
But everything was like connected to him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't really think it changed the way I thought about that, because I think it's sort of
I agree.
or need to. Like life
We
life
change
will
it.
be changing,
Okay.
and if you don't change with it, then it's gonna.
You're gonna want to go check into a hotel and end it.
Yes, the dark humor. I don't know. I didn't really have a thing about that, because I was.
Yeah, I never thought any different. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like,
I think it explored it, and I think it said it's okay if you were to.
yeah.
Which we already agreed to.
Yeah.
We're already on track with that.
Yeah.
Validated our assumptions. What else did you think about the ending? Did it feel hopeful, realistic, or something else?
I think hopeful and realistic. I mean, it wasn't like everybody just walked away happily ever after. Everybody got paired up and moved on, and I think that is much more realistic. I also think it's hopeful because they all were in a much better place.
I think a lot of
movie.
weight was lifted off of a lot
Yeah,
of people.
they really like were able to work through a lot of stuff, and even though it ended up with Gary and Lila not getting married, obviously that was like for the best, and so it was kind of hopeful in the sense that like now Lila has her life ahead of her to figure out what it is that she really wants and who she is, and also like showed Gary that he can find like that love that he had before, and like, you know, be happy again and all this stuff, and with his daughter and everything. And even though they didn't necessarily, it wasn't like it said like they ended up together, what the connection that Phoebe and Gary made, I think made it hopeful for the both of them.
Yeah.
You know, even if it's not together. I think so.
I think so as well. I also like that it left it open.
Yeah.
Like it left it open with the sister and her husband like working through things. Like she wasn't as like tense about how things would kind of fall. She kind of like was accepting of it. And then with, like you were saying, with Gary and Lila, and Gary and Phoebe, and then Lila with Jem too.
Yeah.
You know.
But I like that it wasn't just like, oh, Jim and Lila fell in love, Gary and Phoebe got together, the sister and her husband worked it out. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everything just, like, buttoned up. It was more like, hey, okay, we've had this, like, big epiphany moment, and we've been able to, like, work through some of this trauma and, like, begin the, like, healing of that and really be able to, like, be their true selves. And it wasn't just, like, here's the happy ever after. It's like, hey, now we get to start.
Yeah.
Like, and so I did like that instead of just, like,
you know what's gonna happen.
It's not that. I just like
you're such a liar.
Just kidding. I don't feel like people can't have it. I don't agree with that. You can't be happy ever after. You can't. That's literally doesn't even make any sense. Who's happy 100%? Nobody. Okay, can't be happy ever. Just saying.
That's a good question. Let's not get into philosophical. I agree with you.
It's a feeling, not a state, and that's why I don't believe in happy ever after.
It doesn't ask if it was happy. It asks if it was hopeful or realistic.
I know that, but I was just saying that I like that it left it not happily ever after, not like everything just fucking worked out and we're all skipping through the field.
I too liked the ending of realistic. I like that it left it open, but not, like you said, buttoned up. Like, maybe it doesn't work out between her and Gary. Maybe it doesn't work out between Lila and what's his name. Or maybe one of them does. We don't know. But it was nice. I also really liked about the ending whenever Lila was like, I just wasted everybody's time and money. Blah, and it was $1 million. It was $1 million wedding, and it was just such a waste. And then when Phoebe was like, it wasn't a waste because I was gonna end it, and you gave me a reason to be here.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be here literally without you. And she, like, I thought that was, like, really beautiful.
If Phoebe had never encountered the wedding party, how do you think her story might have unfolded?
The way she intended.
I do think that it's easy to say that, right? Because, like, we see, like, these moments that happened, and that's what caused her to, like, pause and not actually go through with that. But also, in the same token that, like, Lila was looking for a reason why everything was going to go wrong in the wedding and why it wasn't meant to be, because that's how she truly felt. Like, part of me thinks maybe Phoebe really didn't want to do that, and so maybe she would have found it somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, deep down, she was, like, looking for that connection, and by, like, telling her in the elevator that she was going to do that, it was, like, a shocking... Obviously not consciously, because she was still, like, planning on doing it, but that makes me wonder if she would have found
a reason,
something else to not.
She also, like, did take all those pills?
Yeah, she did.
I thought so. I mean, that is a good point. And...
because also maybe she would have taken the pills and the same thing would have happened, and she didn't end up
that's true.
dying, and then she'd have been like,
because it was it makes me, I was trying to think of, like, something where she was like, well, it didn't work, so I'll just do this. But that is a good point, because whenever she went to go order, like, that big old steak and dinner, and they're like, oh, the kitchen's closed for the wedding party, and then she's like, she decides to go down and then get, I think they were saying that there was, like, king crab legs, and it was like this huge seafood boil extravagant platter. And then she could have just stayed and ordered, like, Uber Eats, but that's not what she wanted. So she ended up going down and then making conversation and connection. So we'll see. What if she got that? I don't know. What message or takeaway do you think the author wanted readers to leave with?
there's a lot to take out of this book. There's a lot about, like, life after trauma, like, actually dealing with it instead of just, like, trying to move through it. And I think the biggest thing was just, like, connection throughout the whole thing. That's, like, theme, right? Like, and being true to yourself.
Yeah, I think my biggest one was being true to yourself, finding yourself, and a lot of self-reflection.
Which scene from the book stuck with you the most after finishing?
Which scene? There's so many. I am gonna go with what was the first one? I'm gonna go with the very last scene. Whenever she loses it because it's not a vintage car, it's like an Uber Black, and then she's like in her dress.
That was also
ready to
crazy how they ended up with that.
Yeah.
By the way,
yeah,
like, where did that even come from?
Because they had changed it, like, last minute, like, literally the night before she wanted the vintage car, and they didn't have it.
No, they did have it. You don't remember what happened?
No, I guess not.
They said somebody the car.
Somebody what?
That a guy was intimate with the car.
Oh.
And so she was like, no, I'm not having it. And so she said, you need to get another one. And so they went to get another one, and there was not another vintage car, and that's how she ended up with the, like, thing. And she was like, I knew it was going to get ruined. But I was like, who the fuck is out here?
It's New York. Right. Where are they?
I don't know where she was at.
I was visioning New York.
No, they were on the coast somewhere.
Is the coast not in New York?
Maybe. I mean, yeah, there is, but, like, well,
I don't know.
No, because that would be, like, the Jersey Shore. I don't think that's where... I don't remember where they were at, but it seemed very coastal to me. And, like... like East Coast.
Yeah, okay.
Somewhere. So New York vibes. I think that she lived in New York.
New Hampshire? Is that right? They have seafood in New Hampshire, right?
Well, okay, they do have a coast in New York.
That's not the
Hamptons. But I don't think it was the Hamptons. But I think she lived in a big city, but then they were, like, in a coastal town for the wedding. I don't know. Anyway, that's on geography from us.
Yeah, I'm not good at that.
I forgot where I was going with this.
Which
scene stuck with the... What were you saying?
The car.
Oh, the car. I said that was crazy.
Yeah.
Where did that even come from?
She lost her mind about the car, and it made me... I don't even know. And then she's like, this is it. And she's like, do you even want to marry him? And she's like, not really. No, it's not. She's like, well, go and take a bath. I'll take care of it. I was like, man, I like that. I like that she just handled it.
Yeah.
And she's like literally on her way there. And I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
There's so many like scenes that
There was a lot of good ones. I think my favorite was the one that stuck with me the most was the hot tub one.
I liked the hot tub.
It was just such a good scene, and she was just so like, what? And
She was so brazen.
I
I love it because she was so bold. And before she was not that she was meek, but she always was like never.
But I feel like that's normal for you not to just like say every thought that comes to you or say every feeling or desire that you have.
But like she was so unfiltered.
Yeah.
In this thing, I think even at that time, she was like, she shocked herself about doing that.
Yeah, but I just liked that scene.
You go, girl.
Yeah, I was like, you did. Don't, because he's about to get married, but
she didn't know that.
Right.
Good for him for saying.
Yeah. Which is like fair minimum. I don't know about saying good for him because like obviously you should do that.
No, could you imagine though if he was like, yes, and then imagine the trajectory of the story.
I mean, yeah, that would have been a whole different scenario there.
Would you recommend this book to others, and what kind of reader do you think would enjoy it? I like how this time added that other little bit.
Yeah.
Instead of would you just like recommend this book?
Well, because it's still there.
Okay.
I would recommend this book. I think it was very honestly, I mean, I think to most people, I would recommend it. I think there's something to take away from it. I also think this is the kind of book that you could take away whatever you're looking for, type of thing.
Yeah.
You know? So, I don't think I would recommend it to a young reader.
Yeah.
So,
I think somebody that's
mature, can appreciate and understand more and really get a big takeaway from it. So, I would say most mature readers.
Yeah, I would agree. I would recommend it to mature readers. Interesting. I was thinking more like somebody that's had life experience.
Well, yeah.
But I guess they would have to be a reader, otherwise they wouldn't read. Huh? So I would agree. Ditto. I would recommend it to others. I do think like it leans way more contemporary. I thought it was going to be more of a romance. Didn't matter to me either way. But yeah, probably a more mature reader, and I would 100% recommend this book because there's so much that it covers, and like you can take it away into any kind of experience.
Yeah.
So, like,
it's very relatable.
It was very relatable. Yes. Exactly. Okay. What did you think of the writing style?
I liked it. Was it anything like? It really stands out to me, but I feel like it was very natural. Like you were saying, a lot of the like reflection and stuff like that came very easy, intertwined with the main plot, and I really liked the distinction between characters.
Yeah.
So
they're all different.
Great. And really were like well built out. Even the ones that were much smaller, like the front desk role, like
she had her own little story
and her own little like personality and everything, and so I feel like the characters were really well developed.
I agree. I really liked it. I really liked this type of like it's not necessarily a then and now, it's more like a reflection, so it does feel more natural.
Yeah.
It's and I'm gonna make this comparison, you probably may or may not agree. But it gives a lot of like Stephen King. You know how it's like very natural, like where he's going through a scene and then it's literally it takes the character back into a flashback or something. But it's almost like
for me, Stephen King writes the way people actually think. Like the inner monologue for Stephen King is, I feel like
this, but this isn't that. I just mean like the flow of it.
Okay.
So it's not like her POV. I think this was written on like an outside, right? It wasn't like she. It was more like she, her.
No, I think we got babies.
I really liked that, and same thing with like all the other characters too, because we got it from Gary and what's his name, and the sister's name. I can't remember the sister's. Carol, totally pulled that. Very seamless. Story engagement.
It was engaging. I think a lot of that had to do with the amount of trauma packed into this book. It was like boom, boom, boom. A lot of stuff had to happen. Also, you're going through a wedding week, which is like jam packed of stuff happening.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, there's a bunch of mini events leading up to the big event, and in addition to that, like everybody's own baggage that comes with that.
Yeah.
Like they're not just thinking about the wedding.
Yeah.
They have their own things going on.
Yeah. There's a lot of lives going on.
Yeah, without being overwhelming either. Like everyone had their own time.
It is kind of crazy to think about because how much stuff was talked about in this book. Like I didn't feel at any point where I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it didn't feel
That's enough.
Between everybody's perspective.
Yeah.
Overall ratings.
I was kind of struggling with this. I'm not sure if I want to give it a 4.
What?
I know. Like I do, but I feel like I'm between more like a. I'm just gonna give it a 4.
A forced 4.
It was very good. I feel like it just sometimes it gets a little blurred for me because I'm like, did I love it as much as I love other things that I gave before? But it's hard because like it's other genres, and so I'm like comparing that, and so I feel like I'm
trying or other.
Yes.
Okay, that's crazy. I think we need to get into this because, and maybe not this episode.
We do need to discuss it at some point. Our ratings, so like go into detail about that. But I really do struggle with that because I feel like I know that whatever book I'm like comparing, like rating wise to, I know it wasn't a 5, so I know like it was a 4. I'm also like, did I love this as much as that? No, but for what it was, I did really.
Okay. If you weren't forced to give it a 4, what would you give it?
I think 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah.
That's like your true feelings.
I really think so, but I'm really struggling with it because I did enjoy it. Like I said, I laughed a lot, and that really made me like the book. And I
really said you give it 3.5 too. That you think would compare to this?
feels like it's a 3.5.
We'll have to,
because it definitely wasn't a 3. It was above average, for sure.
Crazy take.
I need more numbers.
An 8. 3 and 3/8.
I meant like 1 to 10, not like fractions.
Yeah, that's how good we used to get on that.
Honestly, can't even get a half a star. Where are you at?
I gave it a 4. I thought it was really well written. I thought that it was memorable. I thought that a lot of this stuff is very relatable, even if you didn't experience those examples personally. Like you can take that and put it into other aspects of your life. I thought I loved the dark humor and their interactions with each other. I really enjoyed the ending where it was kind of left open to the interpretation, where they kind of like the whole book almost felt like a therapy session. Like everybody was clearing their air and just like detensing their shoulders, and the kind of like at the end of the book you feel as though the characters have like a breath, finally could breathe.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed the book because I felt very therapeutic without having to go through therapy. So that's why I gave it a 4. I think it was a solid 4. And I also, honestly, I think going into these books, I'm going to start like not reading the synopsis.
Yeah.
I'm just going to jump in because I really like a blind read almost because I feel like if I read the synopsis, or if I'm going into it with somebody's recommendation of like why they liked it or why they didn't like it, then I'm gonna judge it based off of that while I'm reading it. Anyway, that's a wrap on The Wedding People by Alice. I'm so sorry I gave you a book of Allison Spenuck. Espuck. Next week, we're escaping into worlds of magic, mystery, and wonder. For our fantasy and magical realism theme, starring The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, a story about living across centuries and leaving your mark on the world. Join us as we dive into this enchanting tale.